that is the only thing they left this classroom with, I would be like, we are good to go. Hi friend, welcome to Miss Julie's Montessori Minutes. I'm Miss Julie. I'm so glad you're here. Have you ever thought about how world peace doesn't just depend on teaching our children how to be nice to each other and be well behaved? It also depends on teaching them how to stand up for themselves. So today I'm going to share with you how in my classroom we teach toddlers how to stand up for themselves. So let's get started with the two main reasons it's important to teach a child skills that allow that child to stand up for him or herself. So the first hopefully is pretty obvious and practical, and that is we want the child to know what to do when someone is bothering them, whether it's someone taking their toy, someone crowding them, someone pushing them on the playground. We want them to know in advance what to do. And so teaching a child what they need to do to stand up for themselves in a Montessori classroom is part of grace and courtesy. It's just part of how we teach them to negotiate life. The second reason is for the benefit of the other children. Children need feedback to learn, and if they're only getting feedback from the adults, like stop touching that, don't stand so close to her, etc., then it's not exactly clear to them how the child is feeling about the situation. The child they're bothering is feeling about the situation. And the more feedback on behavior a child can get, the better. Yes, we are good models for the children. Yes, we have clear, consistent expectations. And we teach the other children to stand up for themselves so that when a child comes over and tries to take a book out of their hand or any other of the impulses that are just hard for 1 and 2 year olds to control, they will have the other child telling them, teaching them how they're going to be treated. And that way, those children, as they're learning to control their impulses, have a lot of feedback from everybody in the classroom. No, you may not treat me this way. Those are the two main reasons that we teach children to stick up for themselves, and those two many reasons have tons of implications for other areas of life and for their future life. It's world peace. Okay, so there's 4 main ways we teach the child to stand up for themselves, and these surround the little skirmishes that toddlers get into, and it's a pretty peaceful classroom, but that's just part of learning how to socialize, is learning how other people will allow you to treat them. Okay, so here are the practical skills that we are teaching 1 and 2 year olds, and by the time they're 3 here, they've got it down and they're teaching it to each other. The first is we teach them how to say stop. Stop, 1 word, very clear, so that when we're saying it to the youngest of children, they can understand it. It's much better than no, because especially toddlers can hear just no a lot. It becomes background noise, but stop is very effective, we find, in the classroom. And when we teach them to say stop, we couple it with, especially as younger children, which they're all young when they start here, is the sign for stop. Main reason is a lot of children, when they have another child trying to take something, their prefrontal lobes up here aren't fully developed. They can't think rationally quickly. And so if they're having an impulse to do something back with their hands, this gives them a substitute. So if they're all, bodies tensing up and those, freeze, fight, or flight hormones are kicking in, they want to do something back, they can just say stop, and then it doesn't hurt the other child or become a big physical struggle. So we teach them just to say stop, okay? And then once that happens, there's further education and redirection that can go on. But that's what we teach them, to speak up for themselves by saying stop. The second skill we teach them is to say, please walk away. And sometimes, if that's ignored, it does just become walk away. If you're a parent of a child here at my school, they may have said it to you at home. I know when my children were in an older classroom, they were taught to say, please walk away to people who are bothering them. And And they would say it to me at home too, which I personally really enjoyed. And it's simple. The youngest children can understand that statement, please walk away. And we use that in a situation where someone has a work they're concentrating on, and the person is coming over and like leaning over them, or touching them in a way they don't want to. They can just very clearly say, please walk away, and then the child knows clearly what the child wants them to do. So once we have the other child's attention, and again, in the toddler, it's most often just grabbing things away because they can't control impulses very well yet, right? Because of how their brain is developed at this age. We teach them how to put their hand out like this when they want something back, to send the expectation, that I want it back. I'm going to allow you to put it into my hand, and we say, give it back like that with an open hand. This is something that is almost like a whoo, like life-changing when they realize that putting their hand out is more effective than trying to grab the toy back. And why they might not consciously realize why it's effective, the reason it's effective is because it doesn't create a struggle between the child, like a little tug-of-war going on, and it allows the other child to make a good choice, and the other child, usually likes to make a good choice. So they will give it back. So teach them to put their hands out and say, give it back, or it's mine, or I'm still using that, depending on their level of language. And insisting on their right to continue using the work they have chosen. Okay, so if those three things fail to get the desired result, and certainly, especially in the beginning of the year, it'll fail oftentimes as we're learning. Before everyone has practiced these skills and see that they work on both sides, and people have to listen to you just like you have to listen to them. Okay, so if it's not working, we do teach the child to get help. And how we do that is we watch for signs of the child struggling, like getting, their body's tensing up, or they're looking around to see, is someone going to help me with this? We allow a little bit of struggle as long as both parties are safe and we trust them to try to work it out with the skills they do have. But when it's obviously not working, or someone's getting really tense or upset, or maybe it's an uneven match, so to speak, skill level or size, then we will say, would you like some help talking to Shelby? And sometimes they'll say no and they'll want to keep going. It's pretty rare. Usually they'll say yes, and then we'll help. And then after we've made it clear that that's something they can do, is ask for help talking to someone. Again, not asking us to solve the problem, but asking us to help them. Then we can remind them, oh, remember, you can say, I need help talking to Shelby. And children, since we've been phrasing it that way, children feel pretty comfortable saying that now. I need help talking to. It's a skill they can take into the future, into elementary school, or playground. That's why we phrase it like that. Like, ask someone if you need help talking to them, because then it's collaborative. The adult's going to go help that child, supplement that child's conversation with words or skills or approaches that that child doesn't have yet, so that the issue can be resolved, instead of like, Shelby took my book, which a lot of adults are going to, view as tattling, unfortunately, even though it's just a true statement of fact. Asking for help like that is likely to get the child anywhere they are help in a non-judgmental manner. We have to teach them how to communicate, with adults effectively too. Also, as the child is saying that sentence, there's a recognition that the child is going to talk to that child and continue to talking to that child who has offended them or hurt them in whatever way, and they're going to get support from the loving adults in their environment, and it's going to get resolved. So just saying those words, I need help talking to, is a lot different mentally for that child than, just like help, rescue me. And when the offending child hears the other child say, I need help talking to Shelby, Shelby is likely to go, oh, he's serious, I better let go of the platypus or whatever. When we have children who aren't talking yet, and I can see that there's obvious signs that they're panicked or they're looking for help, you know, they don't have it within them anymore to continue this struggle with the other child, I'll intervene still, and I'll still say, oh, do you need help talking to so-and-so? And, you know, they can answer that question. Like, yeah, that's why I'm looking for them. And so the child will say yes, and then we'll, you know, go talk to the child on their behalf to resolve the issue. So that's something you can do if you have a, you know, baby or nonverbal child at home. Just advocate for that child and say, do you need help talking to your sister? And then help that child resolve the problem. And if it's a, you know, infant, the infant's not going to do too much more than observe, but they're observing, and the older sibling gets the message that you will advocate for the younger sibling until the younger sibling is able to advocate for him or herself. And when we're advocating for those younger children and saying the words for them, for example, I'll say, stop squishing my friend, right? Or what else do they do? Stop throwing straw in my friend's hair, things like that. So I'm saying those words on behalf of a nonverbal child. So the nonverbal child can hear and the older children can hear. And what does that model? Well, it models for the nonverbal child what to say so that when he or she is speaking, they'll know the words. It models for the older child what to say also. And guess what happens? They start saying it for each other. The older verbal children will start sticking up for their younger friends. Can I tell you, one of the most exciting, proudest moments in the classroom is when an older child says to another child, stop hurting my friends. And I just it gives me goosebumps. If we can teach our children to stick up for themselves and to see that being modeled and encouraged to stick up for yourself, and that was ultimately my main priority, but they start sticking up for each other too. They do. 2-year-olds, they start sticking up for each other with loud, strong voices. You can't do that to my friend, or I won't let you hurt him. And that's where the world peace comes in, right? Because if we all start sticking up for each other. If you have other strategies that you teach your child to stick up for him or herself at home, please leave them in the comments. And bonus tip, when your children stick up for themselves with you, whether their perception of reality is correct or not, just, say, oh, I can't wait until that child uses that voice for the good of all humanity. Right? Thank you for watching. Please go ahead and like this video because it helps other people find this video, and then we'll have more world peace, and that's what we all want, right? All right.